He left without a note. Just an empty tuxedo box and 5 years of silence. I grieved, I rebuilt, I moved on. I was finally happy, watching my daughter walk down the aisle. That's when I saw him, a ghost in the crowd. But the man who returned wasn't my husband. He was a monster, and he was just getting started. The coffee was still warm. That's the part that haunted me, the detail that burrowed into my brain for the next 5 years. Mark's favorite mug, a heavy ceramic thing from a Seattle pottery shop, sat on the kitchen island of our Charleston home. A half moon of dark liquid remained. His leather briefcase was gone, and his favorite navy blue suit, the closer, was missing from the wardrobe. But the coffee was warm. He had been here. He had looked at the life we built, our daughter Chloe's graduation photo on the fridge, the grocery list I'd scrawled for that night's dinner, and he had simply evaporated. There was no note, no email, no text message, just a closet door left slightly ajar and a cup of cooling coffee. The silence in our beautiful, sun-drenched colonial was louder than a scream. He had left, and he had apparently intended to be back before the coffee got cold. "He's probably just tied up, Mom," Chloe said, her voice tinny over the phone from her college dorm. At 17, she was already more pragmatic than me. "Did you check the office? Maybe his battery died." I had. I'd called his private line a dozen times. I'd called his business partner, who said Mark hadn't shown up for their 9 a.m. client pitch, an unheard-of transgression. By 3 p.m., the panic was a physical weight, a stone in my gut. I called the hospitals. Nothing. I called the police. The officer sounded bored. "Ma'am, unless there's evidence of foul play, a 42-year-old man has the right to travel. He probably just needed some air." But Mark wasn't a get-some-air kind of guy. He was a 5-year plan kind of guy. He was meticulous. He was stable. He was, I had believed, mine. By midnight, I knew this wasn't an accident. This was an act. I needed my sister. I needed Amelia. She was my opposite, wild, impulsive, and fiercely loyal. While I built a stable life, she'd been a flight attendant, a yoga instructor, and most recently, a freelance artist in Austin. I dialed her number, desperate to hear her rally against Mark, to hear her say, "We'll find him, Sarah, and I'll kill him." But her phone went straight to voicemail. "Hey, it's Meals, leave it." I tried her again and again. A new, colder dread, separate from the one for Mark, began to creep up my spine. I checked her Instagram, usually a flurry of sunsets and lattes. Nothing for 3 days. Her last post was a blurry shot of a highway, captioned, "Sometimes you just have to choose the scary, beautiful new road." I'd liked it at the time. Now the words felt like a confession. The bank manager, Mr. Henderson, looked at me over his glasses with that awful, practiced pity. "Sarah, I'm afraid I can't give you access to the business accounts." I had gone in on day 3, my hands shaking to see if I could pay the mortgage. "But I'm his wife." He cleared his throat. "Mark refiled the corporate papers 2 months ago. He made his sister the sole beneficiary and signatory on the primary accounts. He moved all liquid assets yesterday morning via a wire transfer." His sister? Mark didn't have a sister. "Well, what was her name?" I whispered, already knowing the answer. "Amelia Collins," he said, checking the file. "I'm so sorry, Sarah. The account is empty. My sister, my Amelia. It wasn't just a note he'd failed to leave. He had systematically, and with the help of the one person I trusted most, erased me. We lost the house. We lost everything. The scandal was quiet but brutal, the kind that rips through a tight-knit community like Charleston. Can you believe it? Ran off with her sister. Chloe dropped out of college for a year, her grief hardening into a brittle anger that she aimed at me, at Mark, at the world. I took a job as a paralegal, swallowing my pride and packing up the remnants of our life into a 2-bedroom apartment. The years passed in a blur of survival. We never heard from them. Not a postcard, not a drunk dial, not a single cent of the money they stole. They were ghosts. Chloe and I, we rebuilt. We forged a new life, scarred but stronger. She met Liam, a wonderful, stable man. And I I eventually met David. 5 years passed, and then came the wedding. The day that was supposed to be our triumph, the day the ghosts came home. 5 years snapped by like a rubber band. They were, in a word, grueling. But we survived. Chloe not only went back to college, but she graduated with honors and met Liam, an architect whose calm, steady love was the antidote to our family's poison. Now, our small apartment was filled with swatches of lace and stacks of cream-colored cardstock. Chloe, inheriting her father's meticulous nature, was designing her own wedding invitations. "What do you think, Mom?" she asked, holding one up. "Classic, right?" It was beautiful, but my eyes snagged on the traditional wording. "Mr. and Mrs. Mark Collins request the honor of your presence." "Honey," I started gently, "we need to adjust the wording." Chloe didn't even look up. "Oh, I'm just using a template. I'm deleting that line completely. Liam's parents are hosting." Her casual dismissal stung more than an angry outburst. "Or," I offered, "David would be honored to walk you down the aisle." Chloe finally looked at me, her gaze cool. "We'll see, Mom. It just feels like replacing one lie with another, doesn't it?" The sting of her words sent me retreating to my bedroom, where I started sorting through a box of old files, looking for a misplaced catering deposit. My fingers brushed against a thick, crinkled envelope I didn't recognize, stuffed into a manila folder labeled MISC. It had been forwarded from our old address, postmarked 5 years ago, just 2 weeks after Mark vanished. The return address was a P.O. box in Sedona, Arizona. My hands trembled as I tore it open. It wasn't from Mark or Amelia. It was from Greg, Mark's business partner, the one who'd claimed Mark never showed up for the pitch. The note was short, scrawled on a piece of motel stationery. "Sarah, I'm sorry. He wasn't who you thought." "They weren't who you thought. He was in deep and he dragged her with him. I'm out, getting my family clear. Stop looking, don't let them know you know anything. Burn this." A cold sweat broke out on my neck. This wasn't an affair, this was an escape. I was still holding the letter when David came home. David was my rock, a high school history teacher who wore flannel shirts and smelled like sawdust and coffee. He was everything Mark wasn't: present, patient, and completely, utterly transparent. He found me at the kitchen table, the letter smoothed out in front of me. He read it without comment, his brow furrowing. Then he wrapped his warm, solid hands around mine. "What does this change for you, Sarah?" he asked. "Nothing," I said, a little too quickly. "It was 5 years ago. He's gone. She's gone. It's just ghosts." David watched me, his kind eyes searching mine. "Are you sure you're ready for this wedding? It's a public event. If they showed up, are you really over it?" "I'm marrying you, David. I am over him," I insisted. But as I said it, I knew I was lying. I wasn't over the betrayal, and I certainly wasn't over the mystery. Chloe and Liam were at a bakery, laughing as they tried to decide between lemon lavender and salted caramel. Liam, ever the diplomat, was advocating for a tier of each. But as they sat down, Liam noticed Chloe's smile was strained. "Hey," he said, taking her hand. "You've been a million miles away all day. What's up?" Chloe sighed, pushing a crumb around her plate. "I've been having nightmares about him, Liam, my dad." She confessed that late one night she'd fallen down an internet rabbit hole, searching for Mark Collins and Amelia Collins, half hoping and half dreading she'd find a new life, a Facebook profile, something. There was nothing. "It's this wedding," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "It's so public. What if he sees it? What if he just comes?" Liam held her hand, his expression firm. "Then I'll handle it. He has no right to be there, Chloe. He has no right to you." But Chloe's fear was different from mine. It wasn't just fear of a confrontation. It was the lingering, secret hope of a daughter who still, after everything, just wanted her father to show up. It was Tuesday, 4 days before the wedding. I was in downtown Charleston picking up my mother of the bride dress, a deep emerald silk that David said made my eyes look bright again. I was at the counter handing over my credit card when a flash of movement caught my eye through the shop's glass front. Across the street, a woman stood under the shade of a bakery awning, ostensibly looking at the pastries. She was painfully thin, her hair a brassy chemical blonde, hidden mostly by a scarf and oversized sunglasses. But she wasn't looking at the pastries. She was looking at me. My heart stopped. It was her, the posture, the way she held her head, the sharp angle of her chin. It was Amelia. My fingers fumbled, dropping the credit card. "Ma'am, are you all right?" the salesgirl asked. I looked down, retrieved the card, and when I looked back up, she was gone, vanished, as if she'd never been there at all. I stumbled into our apartment, my breath still caught in my chest. David was at the counter, sorting the mail, his presence a beacon of normalcy. He looked up, and his smile faltered. "Sarah, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." I sank into a chair, the words catching in my throat. "I think I just did. I saw Amelia. Outside the dress shop." David's face hardened, all traces of his gentle teacher persona gone. "What? Are you sure? What did she do?" I shook my head, trying to clear the image. "Nothing. She just stood there. She looked awful, David. Thin, and her hair. She looked cheap. It was her, but it was like a broken-down version of her." I started to cry, a sudden racking sob of confusion. "Why now? Why is she here?" David was in front of me instantly, kneeling and taking my hands. "Stress," he said, his voice firm but kind. "You're stressed. It's 4 days before the wedding. It was probably just someone who looked like her." But I knew he was wrong. "No, David, it was her. Ghosts don't get wrinkles. Ghosts don't have bad dye jobs. This was real." I didn't tell Chloe. How could I? She was in a bubble of bliss, finalizing playlists and seating charts. But the sighting had changed something in me. The fear was back. The next day, I was driving to the bakery to pick up the wedding favors, little boxes of Charleston pralines. I glanced in my rearview mirror. A black Escalade with tinted windows was 2 cars back. When I turned, it turned. When I changed lanes, it changed lanes. My heart began to hammer against my ribs. This wasn't Charleston traffic. This was a tale. I made a series of panicked, unnecessary turns, winding through the historic district. The SUV stayed with me. I finally pulled into the bakery's crowded parking lot and sat, my car in park, my hands shaking. The Escalade didn't follow me in. It just stopped, idling at the entrance to the lot 100 feet away, its dark windows reflecting the bright sunny day, revealing nothing. It just sat, watching. After a full minute, it slowly pulled away and disappeared. This wasn't a ghost. This was a threat. I fled into the bakery, bought the favors, and raced back to the apartment, locking the door behind me. I immediately went to the hall closet, to the box of old files I'd kept, the one Greg's letter had been in. If the sighting of Amelia had rattled me, the SUV had convinced me. This was all connected. Greg's letter. He was in deep... Stop looking. My hands tore through old tax returns and insurance papers, searching for... I didn't even know what. Then I found it. A small black leather-bound notebook. It was Mark's. I'd seen him use it, but he always guarded it. Tucked into the back pocket was a small brassy key attached to a plastic tag. The tag had a number, A117, and beneath it, in Mark's tiny, precise handwriting, was a note, "Contingency, if I'm not back." My ran cold. This wasn't an escape plan. This was a contingency plan. He knew he might not come back. I stared at the key. A117. A storage unit. Before I could even process the thought, my phone buzzed on the counter. A text message from an unknown number. My heart leaped, thinking it was David or Chloe. It wasn't. The message had only 2 words. "He's here," I texted back, my fingers clumsy. "Who is this?" The reply was instant. "Don't play dumb, Sarah. I saw you yesterday. He's in Charleston. He knows about the wedding. He's looking for me. And for you." It was Amelia. It had to be. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely type. "Amelia? What he? Who is here?" A moment later, a new message. "Mark. Mark is here." I thought I was going to be sick. Mark is here, not Mark and Amelia. Mark, and she seemed scared of him. The entire narrative, the scandalous affair, the 2 of them running off into the sunset with my money, cracked and splintered, revealing something darker. That night was the rehearsal dinner, held in the beautiful, jasmine-scented courtyard of a downtown restaurant. Chloe was radiant. Liam was beaming. I was a wreck, clutching David's hand like a lifeline. I had shown him the texts. He'd wanted to call the police, but I'd refused. And say what? My long-lost sister who stole my life is texting me cryptic warnings about my long-lost husband, who also stole my life. They'd laugh me out of the station. David, ever my rock, had stayed close, his eyes scanning the crowd. As Liam's father stood to give a toast, my phone vibrated in my clutch. A new text from Amelia. Look at the bar, the man in the gray suit. He works for Mark. He's been following me. Don't let him see you reading this. I slowly, agonizingly lifted my gaze to the restaurant's indoor bar. A man in an impeccable gray suit was nursing a drink, his back to me. As I watched, he turned, and his eyes met mine. He didn't smile. He just registered me. Then he slowly, deliberately picked up his phone. My turned to ice. The man at the bar put his phone down, took one last sip of his drink, and signaled for his check. He didn't look at me again. But he didn't have to. The message had been sent. David saw the color drain from my face. Sarah, what is it? I couldn't speak. I just gave a tiny, panicked shake of my head, my eyes still locked on the man. David, bless him, didn't need a map. He followed my gaze. He saw the man, a perfectly nondescript white male in an expensive suit, who was now calmly shrugging on his jacket. He looked, in a word, professional. And that was the most terrifying thing of all. We're leaving, David said, his voice low and firm. He stood up, pulling me with him. What? Dad, Mom, no, Liam's dad is giving a toast, Chloe hissed, her face a mask of confused anger. I whispered, fumbling for my clutch. I'm not feeling well, we have to go, now. The hurt in her eyes was a fresh knife, but the fear in my gut was stronger. We left. As we walked out, the man in the gray suit was standing at the valet, waiting for his car, his back to us. No police, Sarah? That's what you said. And now we're running from rehearsal dinners and being stared down by hired goons. This has to stop. David was pacing our small apartment, his face grim. He'd locked the deadbolt and drawn the chain. That man wasn't a ghost. He wasn't a coincidence. That was a threat. I was shaking, but not just from fear. From adrenaline. You're right. It's not a coincidence. It's all connected. The letter, the texts from Amelia. And this. I ran to my room, grabbed the small black notebook, and pulled the key from its pocket. A117. Contingency. David, whatever this is, whatever he was into. I think the answers are in that storage unit. We have to go, tonight. David stopped pacing. Tonight? Sarah, it's the night before the wedding. It's dangerous. It's more dangerous to not know, I pleaded. Mark is here. Amelia is terrified. They aren't together. They're on opposite sides. We know nothing, David. And that man in the suit knows who I am. We don't have a choice. He stared at the small brass key in my palm, and after a long moment he nodded. Where? Mark had been a creature of habit. His office was downtown. The nearest, most expensive, 24-hour climate-controlled storage was Palmetto Secure Storage, 3 blocks from his old building. We drove in David's car, my heart pounding with every red light. The facility was eerily bright, lit by harsh fluorescent lights that hummed. Unit A117, I whispered, as we walked down the sterile white corridor. The click of my heels on the concrete was the only sound. It was a small 5x5 unit. The brass key slid into the heavy-duty padlock with a smooth click. I took a deep breath, grabbed the metal handle, and rolled the corrugated steel door up. It screamed, the sound echoing in the silence. The unit was almost empty, except for a heavy-duty 4-drawer fireproof filing cabinet, and sitting on top of it, a worn leather duffel bag. David, ever practical, checked the hallway before stepping inside. I reached for the duffel bag, my fingers fumbling with the zipper. It was a go bag, but not for Mark. The first thing I saw was a stack of cash, tens of thousands of dollars in bundled $50 and $100 bills. Beneath the cash were 2 burner phones, still in their blister packs. And under those, 2 vacuum-sealed pouches. My hands tore at the plastic. Inside were passports and driver's licenses. I stared at the faces, my vision tunneling. It was me. And Chloe. Our hair was different, our names were wrong. Catherine and Joanna Miller, but the faces were ours. "David," I whispered, my voice trembling. "What is this?" He picked up the other passport. "This was for you. This wasn't an escape from you. This was his contingency plan, to get you out." The entire sordid 5-year-old story of my betrayal was a lie. He hadn't run off with my sister. He had been planning to run with us, or have us run. So what happened? "He didn't take it with him," David said, his mind working faster than mine. "He set all this up, and then he vanished without it, and without you." He turned his attention to the filing cabinet. It was locked. He jiggled the handle. "This is what he wants," I said, the pieces clicking together. "Greg's letter. He was in deep. He wasn't in debt, David. He was in something else. This is what the man in the suit is here for. This is what Amelia is afraid of." David looked at me, his face pale. "We can't open it here, and we sure as hell can't leave it. We have to take the whole cabinet." Just as he said it, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A new text from Amelia. "They saw you. The man in the suit. He followed you from the restaurant. He knows you're at the storage unit. He's on his way. Get out. He's not after you. He's after the cabinet. Leave it and run." My eyes darted to the hallway. A new sound. The ding of the elevator at the end of the hall. "The elevator," I whispered, my voice paralyzed. David didn't hesitate. He grabbed the leather duffel bag off the cabinet, zipped it, and slung it over his shoulder. "Leave the cabinet, Sarah. Now, we have to go." He grabbed my hand and pulled me out of the unit. The sound of fast, heavy footsteps was echoing from the elevator bank. "Which way?" David hissed. I pointed in the opposite direction, toward a red exit sign at the far end of the hall. We didn't run. We moved, fast and low, a panicked, shuffling walk. Behind us, we heard the unmistakable screeching rattle of our unit's metal door being yanked open. They were in. They were just behind us. "Don't look back," David panted. We reached the exit and I slammed my body against the bar. A blast of humid night air hit us. We tumbled out into a dark, graffiti-covered alley, our feet slipping on the cobblestones. The only sound was a distant siren and the pounding of my heart. We didn't speak until we were in David's car, locked inside and peeling out of the alley. I was breathing so hard I thought I might pass out. The duffel bag sat on the floor at my feet, a ticking bomb. "He didn't follow us," David said, his knuckles white on the steering wheel, his eyes scanning every intersection. "He didn't even try to follow us. He wanted the cabinet." I shook my head, the pieces rearranging in my mind. "No, Amelia's text. She knew we were there. She didn't just warn us, David. She lured us. She wanted us to go there. And the man in the suit, he was waiting. He wanted me to find that bag." David's face was grim. "Why? Why give you a bag of cash and fake passports?" "Because it's not about the money," I said, a terrible, cold realization dawning. "It's about the wedding. It's tomorrow. It's public. And they know we'll be there. They're not hunting us. They're hurting us." We drove, not to the apartment, but to a 24-hour diner on the outskirts of town. We sat in a back booth, the duffel bag tucked between us, a cup of coffee growing cold. "Okay," David said, his voice low. "Let's unpack this. 5 years ago, Mark was into something bad. He made an escape plan for you and Chloe, but he never used it. He vanished. Amelia vanished. Now they're both back, but they're not together. Amelia is scared, and someone else, a he, is here." My phone buzzed. "Amelia. You got the bag. Good." I typed back. "Who is he? Mark?" The 3 dots bounced. "No, God no. Mark is gone. He is the man Mark worked for. The man who owned him. The man who's been hunting for that cabinet for 5 years. Mark was their accountant, Sarah. He was laundering their money. Millions. What's in the cabinet?" I texted. The ledgers, the proof, everything. Mark built a case against them, hoping to get out. It was his insurance policy. My hands were numb. So Mark's not the villain? No, she texted. He's the victim, and now he is here, and he's using the wedding as bait. He thinks Mark will finally show up for Chloe. It was 7 a.m. The day of the wedding. We hadn't slept. We'd checked into a motel near the diner, paying with cash from the bag. My real phone was a graveyard of missed calls and frantic, angry texts from Chloe. "Mom, where are you? You left the rehearsal. You're ruining this. Is this about Dad?" I finally called her. Her voice was a strained, tearful shriek. "Mom, what is wrong with you?" "Honey, I am so sorry. I had a terrible migraine. We had to go home. We're on our way now. Everything is fine." The lie tasted like ash. I hung up and looked at David, who was splashed water on his face in the tiny bathroom. "What's the plan, Sarah? We can't just go. The man in the gray suit, the organization, they're expecting us." I held up one of the burner phones from the duffel bag. "I'm calling the one person who might still be on our side." I dialed the number for Greg, Mark's old partner, from the P.O. box in Sedona. "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." My last hope was gone. We were alone. We had no choice. We drove to the venue, a stunning antebellum mansion with sprawling, moss-draped oaks. It was beautiful and completely exposed. "I have to get to Chloe," I said. David nodded, his face set. "I'll be with you. I'll be your shadow. I'll scan the crowd." I found Chloe in the bridal suite. She was already in her dress, a vision in ivory. The moment she saw me, her anger melted, and she burst into tears. I thought you'd abandoned me like he did." "Never," I whispered, clutching her, my eyes scanning the windows, the lawn, the staff. "I will never, ever leave you." The music started, the bridal chorus. It was time. I took my seat in the front row, David's hand gripping mine. As Chloe and Liam's father began their walk down the aisle, I scanned the guests. The man in the gray suit. I saw him. He wasn't even pretending to be a guest. He was standing near the back by the exit, his arms crossed, watching. Not Chloe. He was watching me. The ceremony was a blur. The minister's words about love, trust, and fidelity felt like a cruel joke, echoing in the heavy, humid air. I couldn't focus on Chloe. My attention was a rubber band, snapping between my daughter's radiant face and the stoic, menacing figure in the gray suit at the back. David hadn't moved, his hand a vice grip on mine. He was watching the man was watching me. We were in a silent three-way standoff, while 150 guests dabbed their eyes. "Do you, Chloe, take Liam?" I squeezed my eyes shut. Where is Amelia, I thought? Where is Mark? The text had said he was a victim, but gone. What did gone mean? "I do," Chloe's voice rang out, clear and full of joy. My heart ached. This perfect moment was built on a foundation of my lies and Mark's. The minister smiled. "And now, I believe the bride and groom have written their own vows." Liam went first, his voice thick with emotion. Then it was Chloe's turn. She unfolded a piece of paper, her hand trembling. "Liam," she began, "I have only ever known what love isn't. For 5 years I learned about abandonment. I learned how—" She stopped. Her voice choked. Chloe looked up from her paper, her eyes scanning the crowd. Not for me, but for something. I, she stammered. Liam reached out to touch her arm, concerned. "Chloe, you okay?" She didn't answer. Her eyes widened. She wasn't looking at me or at Liam. She was looking just past the back row. "Dad?" The word was a tiny, incredulous puff of air. Every head in the congregation swiveled. My heart stopped. David and I turned in unison. Standing at the very back of the aisle, just behind the man in the gray suit, was another man. He was older, thinner, with gray at his temples and the haunted eyes of a man who hadn't slept in years. He wore an ill-fitting, cheap suit, nothing like his old Armani. It was Mark. He was here. The man in the gray suit turned, his body language shifting from observer to operative in a split second. His hand went to the inside of his jacket. Mark didn't even look at him. His eyes were locked on Chloe, who had taken a step forward, her bouquet forgotten. "Mark?" I whispered, standing up. David pulled me back. "No, Sarah. This is what they wanted." Mark's eyes finally tore away from Chloe and found me. He looked devastated. He gave a tiny, almost imperceptible shake of his head. "Don't come to me." Then he looked at the man in the gray suit who was now standing directly in his path. "You weren't supposed to be here, Michael," Mark said, his voice raspy from disuse. "The deal was I give you the cabinet, you leave them alone forever." The man in the suit, Michael, gave a thin, cruel smile. "The deal was you show up, you did. Now I get the cabinet, and I get you. The bonus," he gestured to Chloe, "is the insurance, a happy family reunion." He's lying. The voice came from the side lawn near the catering tent. All heads snapped. It was Amelia. But not the broken, cheap-looking woman I'd seen outside the dress shop. This Amelia was dressed in a sharp, dark pantsuit, her hair pulled back, her face hard and competent. She was flanked by two men, big men in dark suits. "He was never going to honor the deal, Mark," Amelia said, walking calmly onto the grass. "He was going to take the ledgers and kill you all, starting with her." She pointed at me. Michael's face paled. He hadn't expected this. This wasn't his plan. "Amelia, what the hell is this?" Mark stammered. "You've been working with them?" "No, Mark," she said, stopping 10 feet away. "I've been hunting them. While you were hiding in a hole, I was finding a bigger fish." She nodded at the two men with her. "Federal agents. We've had this whole property wired for an hour. Say hello, Michael." The blood drained from Michael's face. The guests were frozen, some just realizing this wasn't part of the ceremony. Chloe was clutching Liam's arm, her face a mask of total, paralyzing confusion. "Amelia," I said, my voice shaking. You're a..." "I'm not a federal agent, Sarah. I'm just a really good accountant who got in over her head," Amelia said, her eyes finding mine. "When Mark vanished, they came after me. They thought I knew where the ledgers were, so I ran. And then I started working for a different he, a he at the U.S. Attorney's Office. I've spent 5 years building a case just like Mark did." "You lied to me," and I whispered, "the texts, the fear, the fake sighting." "I had to," she said, her voice softening for a second. "I had to make you find that bag. I had to make Michael think you had the ledgers. It was the only way to get him here in the open, and get Mark to come out of hiding to protect you. It was all bait. You, me, Chloe, all of it." As she spoke, her two agents stepped forward, their hands now on their weapons. "It's over, Michael. The place is surrounded." Time fractured. The guests, who had been frozen in confused silence, finally broke. A woman in the front row screamed. That single sound shattered the tableau. Michael, no longer a calm observer but a cornered, rabid animal, moved. He didn't run for the exit. He lunged for the altar. He lunged for Chloe. "No!" Liam yelled, shoving Chloe behind him, a groom defending his bride. But Liam was just a man. Michael was a professional. He thrust Liam back, grabbing Chloe by her arm and pulling her in front of him, his other hand still inside his jacket. "Nobody moves," Michael screamed, his voice raw. "Amelia, you bitch, you call them off. You call them off or I kill her right here." Chloe was sobbing, a high-pitched, terrified sound. The two federal agents had their weapons drawn, a perfect, lethal triangle between them, Michael and Chloe. I saw it all in slow motion. Mark. He hadn't moved. He was still at the back, his face a mask of anguish. He looked at me, at our daughter in her white dress, a human shield. Then he looked at Michael. "You want me," Mark said, his voice surprisingly loud in the sudden silence. "You don't want her, you want me. Here I am." He took a step forward, his hands raised. "Mark, no," I screamed. "Stay back," Michael yelled, his arm tightening around Chloe's throat. "I have what I need, you stay back." "You let her go," Mark said, taking another step. "It's me, it was always me." He was 15 feet away, then 10. Michael was distracted, his eyes on Mark, his gun hand now coming out, pointed at my husband. He was forgetting the federal agents. In that split second of distraction, as Mark made himself the bigger target, the agents moved, But Mark was faster. He didn't wait for a rescue. He lunged, not at Michael but past him, grabbing Chloe's arm and ripping her away with a desperate surge of strength. He threw her toward Liam. As he did, Michael turned, enraged, and fired. A single deafening crack echoed across the lawn. Chloe's scream was primal. It wasn't a word. It was a sound of pure, unadulterated agony. Mark stood for a second, a look of strange surprise on his face. He looked down at his chest, at the dark, rapidly spreading stain on his cheap suit. Then his eyes found mine, one last time. He didn't say he was sorry. He didn't say he loved me. He just looked at me, as if to say, "I'm done." He crumpled to the grass. The chaos exploded. The agents were on Michael, tackling him to the ground. Guests were stampeding toward the exit. I was immovable, frozen, watching the love of my life, the man who had destroyed me, bleed out on the lawn. David was the one who moved, grabbing my arm. "Sarah, get down." But I couldn't. I tore from his grasp and ran, stumbling in my heels, past a catatonic Chloe, and dropped to my knees beside Mark. Mark, stay with me." His eyes were half open, his breathing a wet, shallow gasp. I pressed my hands to his chest, the hot, sticky blood soaking my dress. "Why?" I whispered. "Why did you come?" The wedding was over. The sirens had replaced the string quartet. My daughter's wedding venue was a crime scene cordoned off with yellow tape. I was at the hospital, in a sterile, buzzing waiting room. I was still in my mother-of-the-bride dress, now stained with Mark's blood. David had his coat around my shoulders. In the corner sat Chloe, still in her wedding gown, mud and grass staining the hem. Liam, his face pale, held her hand, his own wedding ring looking alien and new. And across from us, under the harsh fluorescent lights, sat Amelia. She was being questioned by a grim-faced man in a suit, a real federal agent this time. She was calm, composed, answering his questions in a low, steady voice. Her trap had worked. Michael was in custody. The organization was crumbling. Her 5-year mission was a success. I couldn't look at her without wanting to be sick. A surgeon in scrubs came through the double doors, his face unreadable. "Family of Mark Davies?" I stood up, my legs shaking. Chloe was right behind me. "He's out of surgery," the doctor said. "The bullet missed his aorta, but it hit his lung and nicked his spine. He's in critical condition. The next 24 hours will be decisive." He was alive, for now. I sagged against David, the relief so profound it was almost painful. And then Chloe spoke, her voice dead, hollow. "This is your fault." I looked at her, confused. "Honey, what?" "This," she said, gesturing to the waiting room, her dress. "All of it. He was gone, he was gone. You and your sister, you brought him back. You couldn't just leave it alone. You had to have your drama. You ruined my life and now you ruined my wedding." It was a blow more painful than the gunshot. She wasn't looking at Amelia, she was looking at me. "Chloe, no," I pleaded. "That's not... I was trying to protect you." "Protect me?" She laughed, a bitter, awful sound. "You lied to me. For 5 years, he was a monster. Now he's a hero. I hate you. I hate all of you." She turned and walked away, pulling Liam with her. "Chloe, wait!" But she was gone. I was alone with David and my sister, the architect of this ruin. The waiting room was a sterile purgatory. Chloe was gone. Mark was in surgery. I was left with David and the architect of the entire catastrophe, my sister. Amelia had finished with the federal agent and was now standing by the vending machines, her composed facade finally cracking. David, ever the protector, stood between us, a silent guard. "You should go," I told him, my voice flat. "David, you've done more than enough. Go home, I'll call you." He looked like he wanted to argue, but my expression was iron. He squeezed my shoulder, his gaze lingering on Amelia with pure contempt, and then he left. The second the door swished shut, Amelia took a hesitant step. "Sarah, don't," I cut her off, my voice barely a whisper, but it stopped her cold. "Don't you dare. You used her. You used my child's wedding as bait for your project." "I was trying to end it." Her voice rose, defensive. To protect you, that he I told you about, Michael? He's just a soldier. His boss would never have stopped hunting for those ledgers. He would have found you, Sarah. He would have hurt Chloe to get to them. I did what Mark was too weak to do. I finished it. And what did you start, Amelia? I shot back, finally turning to face her. Chloe hates me. My husband, God help me, is dying in that room. You didn't save us, you just set the fire a different way. You're just like him. Her face crumpled. That hurt her. Good. He was a victim? I scoffed, throwing her text back at her. He laundered millions for criminals. He abandoned his family. Don't you dare try to make him a saint just because he took a bullet, Amelia said, her voice hard again. But he's not the devil you think either. When you're ready to hear the truth about why he ran, you call me. She tossed a business card onto the chair between us. It didn't have a name, just a number. He was alive. The surgeon's words, critical, spine, decisive, and were just noise. He was alive. After a few agonizing hours, a nurse let me into the ICU. It wasn't Mark, not the Mark I knew. The man in the bed was a husk, pale and thin, dwarfed by the blinking, beeping machines that were breathing for him. His Armani-clad ghost was nowhere to be found. This man was small, broken, and defeated. I sat in the hard plastic chair, my stained dress stiff against my skin. I felt nothing, not love, not hate, just a profound, hollow emptiness. This was the man who had shattered my world. This was the man who had just inexplicably saved our daughter's life. He had chosen to be the target. He had thrown Chloe to safety. The two versions of Mark, the monster and the martyr, warred in my head until I couldn't think at all. I just watched the rhythmic rise and fall of the ventilator, my own personal hell now reduced to a 24-hour vigil. Chloe and Liam didn't go home. They went to the airport hotel they were supposed to be in before their flight to Hawaii. The honeymoon was, in every sense of the word, over. Chloe stood in the luxurious beige room, her muddy, grass-stained dress a mockery in the pristine surroundings. Liam gently tried to unzip her. Chloe, come on. Let's get you out of this. We can get a hot shower, order some food. She slapped his hand away, a sharp, surprising gesture. Don't, she cried, her voice cracking. Don't touch me. If I take this off, then it's real. It's all real. It is real, honey, Liam said softly, his own trauma pushed aside for her. I'm here. Is this it? She whispered, turning to him, her mascara-stained face a mask of grief. Is this our life? Is this what my family does? We destroy things? My father, I hated him, Liam. I spent 5 years learning how to hate him, and now, he saved me. And my mom knew. She lied to me all this time. She was trying to protect you, Liam offered. She used me, Chloe screamed, finally ripping at the buttons on her dress. Her and my aunt, they used my wedding. They brought this poison back. I won't be like them. I'm done, Liam. I'm done with all of them. She finally collapsed into his arms, her wedding day ending not with a party, but with a promise of exile. Dawn broke over the hospital. I must have dozed off because a sharp knock on the door jerked me awake. It wasn't a doctor. It was the same grim-faced federal agent who had been talking to Amelia. Agent Harris, he said, not asking for permission to enter. Mrs. Davies, I need your statement. David had returned, thank God, with 2 cups of terrible coffee. He stood up. Agent, this woman has been through hell. Can't this wait? No, Harris said, his eyes on me. Ma'am, your husband is the star witness in a case we've been building for 5 years. His survival is problematic for some very dangerous people, which means this hospital and you are now of federal interest. I told your men. I don't know anything, I said, my voice hoarse. You knew enough to go to that storage unit, he countered. You knew enough to be scared. I don't care about your husband's personal failings, Mrs. Davies. I care about the ledgers he stole, the ones Amelia was using to draw Michael out, the ones that are still missing. Where are they? I don't know, I cried. In the cabinet, the one at the unit. It was empty, Harris said, his voice cold. Michael's team cleared it out right after you left. They didn't find them either. So I'll ask again, where are the ledgers? I stared at him, dumbfounded. Mark moved them, but Amelia said. Amelia's plan was built on a bluff, Agent Harris said, leaning in. She bluffed Michael into thinking you had the ledgers. She bluffed Mark into thinking you were in immediate danger. It all worked. But now the game is over and we're left without the grand prize. We have Michael, but he's just a trigger man. We want his boss. He handed me a card. You're a victim in all this, ma'am. But don't make yourself an accessory. You think about it. He left. I was reeling. The cabinet was empty. Mark had moved his insurance policy. I looked back into the ICU at the man in the bed. An agent was now posted outside his door. I went back in, ignoring the agents. Ma'am, you need to. I walked up to the bed, my mind racing. You bastard, I whispered to his unconscious form. You had another plan. You always had another plan. I was so angry, so full of 1,000 questions that I grabbed his hand. It was limp and cool. You're not going to die, I hissed. You don't get to. You have to wake up and tell me. I stopped. I felt it. A squeeze. A flicker of pressure against my palm, so faint I thought I'd imagined it. But I hadn't. His eyelids fluttered, just once. He was in there, and he was waking up. It was barely a twitch, a phantom pressure, but it was enough. Nurse! I yelled, my voice cracking. He's waking up. A nurse rushed in, followed by the doctor. They moved with practiced efficiency, shining a light in his eyes, checking monitors, calling his name. Mark? Mr. Davies? Can you hear me? I was pushed to the side, my heart hammering against my ribs. He's in there, he's not gone. After a few tense moments, the doctor turned to me. His pupils are reactive. He's trying to surface from the anesthesia. This is a good sign, a very good sign. But he's not awake yet, not really. He has a long road. I nodded, the adrenaline ebbing, leaving me exhausted. You said, the spine? I asked, my voice trembling. The bullet grazed the vertebra. There's significant swelling. We won't know the extent of any nerve damage until he's fully conscious and the swelling goes down. For now, we just wait. He was alive, but the man I'd married might be gone forever, replaced by someone else entirely, a prisoner in his own body. The irony was almost too much to bear. The next 48 hours were a blur of beeps, antiseptic smells, and hushed conversations. I lived on lukewarm coffee and the stale crackers David brought me. He was my rock, my silent, steadfast shadow. He'd made a few calls, postponing his business, and simply sat with me, reading a newspaper, providing a quiet, human anchor in the sterile storm. Chloe, however, remained silent. I had called. I had texted. He's alive. He's stable. Chloe, please, I need you. The replies never came. Liam finally texted me from an unknown number. She's not okay. She's broken, Sarah. She needs space from everyone. We're staying at my parents' upstate. Please, just give her time. My daughter had not only left me, she had erased me. The betrayal I felt from Mark was a dull, chronic ache. This new wound from Chloe was a fresh, gaping, agonizing tear. I was a mother with no child, a wife with no husband. I was alone, in a room full of people waiting for a monster to wake up. On the third day, the ventilator tube came out. His breathing was ragged, but it was his. I was sitting by the window watching the rain when I heard a sound, a dry, rasping cough. I turned. Mark's eyes were open, not fluttering. Open, and they were on me. I stood up slowly, my legs feeling like concrete. Mark? His eyes were different. The old confidence was gone, replaced by a raw, primal fear. He looked confused, disoriented. He tried to speak, his throat working, but only a dry click emerged. A nurse bustled in, checking his vitals. Well, hello, sleepyhead. Welcome back. Don't try to talk just yet. She gave him a small ice chip. He took it, his gaze never leaving me. He was tracking me. He was lucid. The nurse finished her checks and left us. I walked to the bed, my arms crossed, a fortress of one. So, I said, my voice devoid of pity. You're alive. He swallowed, winced. He licked his lips. And then he spoke. His first word in 5 years. Chloe? My heart, which I had guarded so carefully, just broke. Not in sadness. In fury. She's not here, I said, my voice flat. She's on her honeymoon. The one you so spectacularly ruined. She hates you, but I think she hates me more. Congratulations, Mark. A flicker of something crossed his face. Pain? Regret? I didn't care. I wouldn't let myself care. She, he rasped. Saw me? Oh, she saw you. She saw you get shot. Pacing. After you abandoned her for 5 years, your grand reunion was you bleeding out on the lawn of her wedding. So, yes, she saw you. I had to stop. My hands were shaking. I wasn't just angry. I was vibrating with 5 years of pent-up, unscreamed rage. She's safe? He whispered, his eyes closing. She's safe, I admitted. From Michael, but not from you. Never from you. He nodded as if accepting this. He looked so weak, so pathetic. Amelia, he began. Don't, I snapped. I can't even. Your sister, my sister. I don't know who to despise more. You for leaving or her for bringing you back. He tried to sit up. A flash of his old, impatient self, but a spasm of pain shot through him, and he collapsed back onto the pillow, gasping. Sarah, you don't understand. The ledgers. The ledgers are gone, I nearly shouted. Harris, the Fed, he told me. The cabinet was empty. You played us all, didn't you? Another one of your damn plans. He shook his head, a tiny, pained movement. No, not gone. She has them. I froze. She? Who's she? Amelia? No, he breathed, the effort costing him. My other sister. The room compressed. The beeping of the heart monitor seemed to fade into a dull roar. What did you say? I asked, my voice a dead calm. Your other sister? Elena, he whispered, his eyes pleading with me, as if this confession was a surrender. My half-sister. From my father's other life, the one no one knew about. She's not like us, Sarah. She's in it. She's part of their world. I sank into the chair, my legs giving out. Elena. I'd never heard the name. In 20 years of marriage, he had never once mentioned a half-sister. This was a lie so deep, so foundational, it rewrote our entire history. He hadn't just hidden money. He'd hidden people. He'd hidden his own She helped me, he rasped. When I knew, I had to run. I couldn't trust Amelia. She's too straight, too moral. Elena, she's a pragmatist. She took the ledgers, the real ones. The ones in the cabinet were fakes, bait for Michael. So the man I saw, the man at the elevator, Elena's man, Mark confirmed, his breath catching, to watch you, to make sure. Michael didn't get to you first. She's been protecting you all this time. I stared at him. A half-sister. A criminal half-sister. You, I whispered, the words tasting like acid, are the most selfish man I have ever known. Protecting me. You put a target on my back. You put a spy on me. That man at the elevator. He was guarding the asset. Protecting me. He was watching your precious ledgers, and I was just the bait you left tied to the trap, weren't I? He flinched, a clear sign I'd hit the mark. It wasn't like that. Elena, she's loyal. She understands. Amelia, she's a cop, Sarah. She sees the world in black and white. She would have turned me in. She would have followed procedure. Elena knows how to survive in the gray. I had to. It was the only way. He had chosen a criminal over his own sister. He had chosen a stranger over his wife. He had built a new life, a new identity, and a new secret family, all while leaving me to rot in the ruins of our old one. The man who had saved Chloe was gone again, replaced by the calculating monster I'd always known. My phone, he rasped, his eyes desperate. In my jacket, the The agent, Harris, he has my things. You want me to get your phone so you can call your accomplice? I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. You're not in charge anymore, Mark. You're a witness. You're a target. You don't get to make calls. Please, he begged, and the desperation in his voice was new. It wasn't the smooth charm of old Mark. It was the raw fear of this new, broken one. Elena, she needs to know. She'll protect us. She'll protect Chloe. You have to call her. He recited a number, a string of digits I'd never seen. I was frozen. What was I doing? Was I helping him? Aiding and abetting? Just then, Agent Harris walked back in, holding a clear plastic bag. His personal effects. We've logged them. He dropped the bag on the table. Inside was a cheap burner phone, not his old, sleek smartphone. His lawyer's on the way up, Harris said, his face grim. I'll be right outside. He left. Mark's eyes were fixed on the bag. The number, Sarah. Please, before he comes back. Against every instinct, I pulled the phone out, powered it on, and dialed. It rang once. A woman answered. No hello. He's awake. Her voice was low, smooth, and utterly devoid of emotion. Is the room secure? Who is this? I stammered. This is Elena, she said, as if I were a slow child. I've been waiting for this call. Now put him on. I can't, I said, my hand shaking. He can't talk long. Then you listen, Elena said, her voice hardening. Agent Harris is a problem. He doesn't have the ledgers, and his case against Michael's boss is a house of cards. He will lean on Mark. He will offer protection. Do not accept. My people are already at the hospital. They are watching the feds. They are watching Michael's people. You are not to leave that room. You are not to trust anyone. Am I clear? Before I could answer, the door swished open again. It was Amelia. She looked exhausted, her hair a mess, her suit rumpled. She stopped dead when she saw Mark awake and me holding a phone. What's going on? Amelia demanded, her eyes narrowing. Who is that? I hung up, my heart pounding. He's awake, Amelia, and he has something to tell you. Mark looked from me to his sister, the picture of a cornered man. Amelia, he rasped. I'm sorry. Sorry? She scoffed, walking closer. Sorry you got shot? Sorry you used my plan as a sideshow? I ought to… He didn't trust you, I said, the words falling like stones into the silence. That's what he wants to say. Amelia looked at me. What? The ledgers in the cabinet were fake, I said, my voice dead. Bait. He had another set, a real set. He gave them to someone else, someone he trusted more than you. Amelia's face went white. She turned to Mark. Who? Mark closed his eyes. He couldn't even look at her. Elena, he whispered. Our sister. The sound Amelia made was something between a laugh and a sob. Elena, you contacted her after what she did. You bastard. She's not our sister. She's his. She's a criminal. The room was thick with 30 years of family poison. She kept me alive. Mark defended himself weakly. She kept you alive, Sarah. She's using you, Amelia shouted. She's using you and those ledgers to leverage her own position in that organization. You didn't escape, you fool. You just traded one boss for another, and you dragged Sarah into it. The door opened again. This time it was Agent Harris, and he was not happy. What the hell is going on in here? The shouting is a security risk. He was followed by a thin, expensive-looking man in a suit, Mark's lawyer. The lawyer immediately took charge. Agent, my client is in no condition to be questioned. You'll need to leave, all of you. Harris got nose-to-nose with the lawyer. Your client is a material witness in a federal case and his life is in imminent danger. Michael's boss, the one we call the broker, knows he's here. He knows he's awake. We're moving him to a secure federal facility. Now. You are not, a new voice said. We all turned. A man and a woman in dark, impeccably tailored suits stood at the door. They were not hospital staff. They were not feds. "We're his private security team," the woman said, her eyes cold. "We'll be handling his protection from here." Elena's people. They were here. I was trapped between the feds, the mob, and a secret shadow army run by my husband's criminal sister. 200 miles north, Chloe stood on a dock, overlooking a perfectly still, cold lake. The air was crisp, clean. It smelled like pine and damp earth. It was the antithesis of the wedding, of the hospital, of her entire life. Liam came up behind her, wrapping her in a thick wool blanket. "You've been out here for an hour," he murmured, kissing her hair. "You'll catch a cold." "It's quiet," she whispered, leaning back against his chest. I can't hear them. I can't hear my mom, or him, or my aunt. It's just quiet." "I'm sorry, Chloe," he said. This is not how it was supposed to be." She turned in his arms, her face buried in his sweater. "I keep seeing it, Liam. I close my eyes and I see him grabbing me, and then I see my father throwing me, and the sound. God, the sound of the gun. He saved you," Liam said softly. "He saved us." "Why?" she cried, her voice muffled. "Why now? Why not 5 years ago? Why not never? I had a life. It was a lie, but it was mine. Now, I don't know what's real. I look at my mom, and I don't know her. I look at him, and I don't know him. I don't even know myself." She pulled back, her eyes red but fierce. "I'm not going back, Liam. I can't be part of their sickness. We're done. We start new, just us. I'm never speaking to any of them again." The hospital room became a pressure cooker. Agent Harris stepped forward, his hand resting on his service weapon. "I don't know who you people are, but my authority supersedes private security. This man is a federal witness. He's coming with me." The woman from Elena's team, the one with the cold eyes, didn't even blink. She just looked at Mark's lawyer. "Mr. Glass, is your client under arrest?" "He is not," the lawyer said, smoothing his tie. "He is a witness who has been cooperative, and he is a victim of a violent crime. As his counsel, I am advising him to accept the protection of his family, who have provided a secure, medically equipped facility." "His family," Amelia spat, gesturing at the two operatives. These aren't family. Mark, tell them who Elena is." All eyes turned to the man in the bed. Mark looked exhausted, but a flicker of his old command returned. He looked at Harris. I won't go, not with you." Then he looked at Amelia. "They protect Sarah." Harris was livid. "You're making a catastrophic mistake. You're choosing the wolves over the shepherds." He pointed a finger at me. "And you. You're an accessory to this. You're obstructing a federal investigation." Before I could respond, Elena's female operative took a step. "The window for discussion is over. Agent Harris, you can either step aside or you can be detained. Your choice." Harris's hand tightened, but he was outgunned and outmaneuvered. He knew it. You will regret this," he seethed, but he stepped back. What followed was a terrifying display of efficiency. The two operatives were just the tip of the iceberg. Within minutes, 4 more men appeared, pushing a high-tech gurney. They expertly and gently transferred Mark, with all his lines and monitors, onto it. "Mrs. Davies, you'll come with us," the female operative said. "It was not a request. I'm not going anywhere," I stammered. "I need to... my daughter." "Your daughter is the reason you're coming," she said, her voice dropping. "The broker knows Mark is alive. He knows Mark failed to get the ledgers. Who do you think his next target will be? Your daughter, your house, you. You are Mark's only leverage. As of now, you are the most valuable and most vulnerable person in this city. You are coming." She was right. I was a loose end, a target, a pawn. Numbly, I grabbed my purse. Amelia tried to follow us. "Sarah, don't go with them. This is insane." Elena's lead operative, the man, put a firm hand on Amelia's shoulder, stopping her. "Your involvement ends here. For your own safety. Go to hell, Amelia snarled. Already there, he said, and pressed the button for the elevator. We left Amelia and Agent Harris standing in the hallway, two different sides of the law, both equally powerless. We were taken down a service elevator out to a private ambulance. It was swift, silent, and utterly final. I was a prisoner. We didn't go to a safe house. We went to a penthouse, a stunning glass-walled apartment overlooking Central Park, but with a cold, sterile feel. It was owned by a shell corporation, of course. Within an hour, Mark was installed in a master bedroom that had been converted into a state-of-the-art ICU, complete with a private nurse. I was given a guest room with a king-sized bed and a view that would have once taken my breath away. Now it just looked like a long, long way to fall. The lead operative, the woman, finally introduced herself. "My name is Kale. You will not leave this apartment. Your food and any necessities will be provided. There is no outside internet, and your phone is useless. You are completely safe here." "I'm a prisoner," I said flatly. "You are being protected," she corrected me. "There's a difference." I went to Mark's room. He was pale, stabilized, and watching me. "This is safer," he rasped. "Safer?" I hissed, keeping my voice low. "This is her world, isn't it? The gray you love so much." "What have you done, Mark? Who is this woman?" She saved me," he insisted. "She's the only one who can stand up to the broker. She's family." "She's a monster," I whispered, "and you've locked me in a cage with her." Agent Harris was apoplectic. He'd had Mark Davies in his grasp, and he'd let him be snatched away by a private army. He ran the operatives' faces through every database. No hits. They were ghosts. He put a 24/7 tail on Amelia. He started pulling my financials, my phone records, anything to find a link. He was a man obsessed, but he wasn't the only one. Miles away, in a different, darker office, the broker received the news. Mark Davies had vanished from the hospital. Michael, his best trigger man, was in federal custody, and the ledgers were still missing. This was an unacceptable failure. "He's weak," the broker said, his voice a calm rumble to his subordinates. "He's injured, he can't run far, but he has help. This, Elena, find her, find him, and find the wife. The wife is the key. Put the word out. 20 million for Sarah Davies. Alive. I want to look her in the eyes when I ask her where my money is." The criminal underworld lit up. My face, my name, my life. I was now the most wanted woman in America. I was pacing the living room of the penthouse, a captive bird in a glass cage. Mark was asleep, heavily medicated. Kyle and her team were silent, posted at the exits. On the coffee table, a sleek black satellite phone suddenly buzzed. It wasn't a ring. It was an electronic sterile vibration. Kyle nodded at me. "She wants to talk to you." My hand trembled as I picked it up. "Hello?" "Sarah, this is Elena." Her voice was exactly as I remembered, smooth, cold, and in absolute control. "I trust your accommodations are acceptable." "What do you want?" I asked, cutting through the pleasantries. "I want what Mark promised me. The broker's head. Those ledgers are my key to his throne, and Mark is my witness. But things have become complicated. You, to be specific." "Me? You're a liability," she said simply. "The broker has just put a $20 million bounty on your head. You've become very popular. You're no longer just bait. You're the prize." I sank onto the sofa, my running cold. "So, what? You're going to hand me over?" "No," Elena said, almost laughing. "You're my liability, but I need you to understand the stakes. I need your complete cooperation. No more fighting Kale, no more emotional outbursts. You will do exactly as I say, because if you don't—" She paused, and the silence was heavy. "That's a lovely lake house your daughter is staying at. Very remote, very quiet." My breath hitched. She knew. You stay away from her," I whispered, my voice shaking with rage. "Of course," Elena said, her voice turning soft and reasonable. "As long as her mother behaves. Welcome to the family, Sarah." The satellite phone clicked off. the silence in the penthouse suddenly deafening. My own breathing sounded harsh, ragged. Kyle, the operative, watched me with a dispassionate, almost reptilian stillness. She had heard the entire conversation. She knew I had just been threatened. She threatened my daughter, I whispered, my voice shaking so hard I could barely form the words. She ensured your compliance, Kyle corrected me, her voice flat. Your daughter is perfectly safe as long as you remain where you are. That's not safety. That's a leash. I screamed, the terror finally boiling over into rage. It's a hostage. Kyle didn't even flinch. All protection requires a sacrifice. Yours is your freedom. It's a small price for your life and your daughter's. The cold, transactional nature of it made me sick. I turned from her, marching down the hall to the master bedroom, the converted ICU. Mark was awake, his eyes clearer than before. He'd been listening. He'd heard me scream. You, I said, my voice dropping to a low, venomous hiss. I pointed a shaking finger at him. This is your fault, not the money, not the broker. This, your sister. She just threatened to kill Chloe. Mark flinched, the accusation hitting him harder than any bullet. She wouldn't, he stammered. She's protecting us. She's protecting her investment, I shot back, and she just told me I'm a liability. What kind of family is this, Mark? Who is she? He sighed, a long, rattling breath, and stared at the ceiling. The story, when it came, was worse than any affair. Our father, Mark began, his voice raspy. His import-export business, the one that made us respectable. It was a front. His other life in Chicago. It wasn't just an affair. It was his real business. And Elena was his other family. I felt the floor tilt. What? What business? He wasn't a businessman, Sarah. He was a gangster. A high-level white-collar criminal. The broker. He was one of my father's lieutenants, and Elena, she was his heir, not me, her. The revelation was sickening. Mark wasn't the golden boy. He was the clean, legitimate son. Elena was the one who had been groomed to take over the criminal empire. When I got in deep, he continued, when I stole from the broker, I didn't just steal from a random mob boss. I stole from my father's old organization, the one Elena was supposed to inherit. I didn't just run, Sarah. I ran to her. I offered her a deal. The ledgers, they're not just evidence against the broker. They're the keys to the kingdom. They're her birthright. I offered her the broker's head on a platter in exchange for our lives. I finally understood. This wasn't a rescue. It was a corporate merger, written in blood. The quiet of the lake house was beginning to feel less like a sanctuary and more like a prison. Every creak of the old wood, every snap of a twig outside, made Chloe jump. It's just the house settling, Chloe, Liam said for the 10th time that day. He was trying desperately to hold them together, but he was just as haunted. I know that, she snapped, her voice brittle. I'm not an idiot. She hadn't slept in 2 days. She kept replaying the scene, the gunshot, the blood, her father's eyes, her mother's scream. It was a looping, silent film in her mind. Maybe we should call your mom, Liam suggested softly, holding up his own phone. Just check in. She must be going out of her mind. She lied to me. Chloe yelled, the sudden volume shocking them both. For 5 years, she let me believe he was dead or just gone. She grieved with me. It was all a performance. And Aunt Amelia, bringing him there, like some bomb. I hate them. I hate all of them. But even as she said it, her hand strayed to her own phone hidden in her suitcase. The anger was a hot, bright shield, but beneath it was a cold, terrifying fear. She was alone. She had cut herself off from everyone, and in doing so, she had stranded them. She looked out the window at the long, dark, empty road leading to the house. She just threatened to kill Chloe. The thought, an echo from the penthouse, seemed to catch on the wind. Chloe shivered suddenly, violently. Amelia was a caged animal. She'd been put on administrative leave, her badge and weapon taken. Agent Harris had 2 agents parked outside her apartment, a 24/7 tail. She was a person of interest, cut off from all official resources. But she was her father's daughter too. She just channeled it differently. She sat at her kitchen table, surrounded by old, dusty file boxes. She wasn't a cop right now. She was an archaeologist, digging up her own family's toxic past. She, too, had always suspected the import business was dirty. Now Mark had given her the missing piece. Lena? She didn't use a computer. She used a burner phone and cash. She called in old favors from informants, from retired cops, from the kind of people who lived in the gray she hated so much. Elena Rostova, she said to a voice on the phone. Russian. Chicago connection. Father was a businessman named Davies. She listened for a long time. I see. And her reputation? She listened again, her face going pale. She's that good and that brutal? She hung up. Elena wasn't just a criminal. She was a ghost, a legend, a fixer of impossible problems. And she had Mark. Amelia knew she couldn't get to Mark or Sarah. Elena's security would be airtight. But what was the one piece Elena couldn't control? Her face hardened as the realization hit her. Chloe. She grabbed her keys, a different set for a car she kept in a storage unit. She walked out her back door, climbed over a fence, and disappeared into the alley. The feds out front never even saw her go. The broker was furious. The $20 million bounty had turned up nothing but dead ends. His people were scared. Mark Davies, a man he'd dismissed as a weak, terrified accountant, had been extracted from a hospital under armed guard. Find the wife, he roared to his lieutenants. Find the daughter. Find anyone with the last name Davies and squeeze. That night, 3 of the broker's top earners, men who ran his operations in the Diamond District, were meeting at a private, high-end steakhouse. They were discussing the bounty, how they'd find me. They never made it to dessert. Kyle entered the penthouse living room where I was numbly watching the city lights. She held out a tablet. On the screen was a news alert. A gas leak explosion at a restaurant. 3 dead. Tragic, Kale said, her voice flat. The broker's New York operations are crippled. Elena has made her countermove. The bounty on your head is likely to be reconsidered. I looked at the screen, at the flames, at the breaking news crawl. This wasn't protection. This was a war. And I wasn't just a pawn anymore. I was the prize. She killed them, I whispered. She sent a message, Kyle replied, taking the tablet back. She's letting him know that his organization is hers for the taking, and that anything he tries to take from her will cost him everything. I finally understood. I had been saved from a wolf only to be handed to a dragon. Amelia drove like a demon. She'd swapped her practical sedan for a nondescript decade-old pickup truck she kept registered to a Shell LLC. It was her ghost vehicle. She'd driven for 3 hours, stopping once at an all-night diner for coffee and a burner phone, paying cash. She was running on pure adrenaline, fueled by a deep, cold rage. Elena, her sister. The name was a curse. Her father had lived a lie, and now, 30 years later, that lie was metastasizing, consuming what was left of their family. She knew, with a cop's certainty, that the lake house was compromised. If she could find it, Elena's network already had it pinned. And if Elena was using Chloe as leverage, the broker's people, in their desperation, would be hunting for that same leverage. Chloe was a sitting duck. As the first gray light of dawn broke, she turned onto the long, unpaved road to the lake house. She clicked the headlights off, rolling the last quarter-mile in near silence, the engine a low rumble. She saw the house. It was dark, quiet. Too quiet. Inside, Chloe hadn't slept. She was sitting on the floor by the cold fireplace, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the front door. Liam was dozing fitfully on the couch. "I can't stop thinking," she whispered, her voice hoarse. Liam sat up, rubbing his eyes. "About what, Chloe?" "That security guard at the elevator, the one who saved me." "Your dad's guardian angel?" Liam said, his voice thick with skepticism. "No," Chloe said, shaking her head. "Not him. The other one, the one who was already there, the one who shot Michael." Liam frowned. "You mean your Aunt Amelia?" No, there was another one. A man in a suit. He just appeared. Before Liam could process this, they both heard it. The crunch of gravel, a vehicle. Not on the road, but on their driveway. Liam was at the window in a second. It's a truck. I don't recognize it. Chloe's ran cold. They found us. Liam grabbed the fireplace poker, his hands shaking. Chloe, go to the back bedroom, lock the door, call 911. There's no signal, Liam, remember? She whispered, her voice trembling. The truck door creaked open. A figure emerged, silhouetted against the graying sky. The figure walked to the porch. A sharp, authoritative knock. Chloe, it's Amelia, open the door! We have to go, now! Chloe nearly collapsed in relief, throwing the deadbolt. Amelia brushed past her, her eyes scanning the room, her hand inside her jacket clearly holding a weapon. Aunt Amelia? What? How? Get your things. 5 minutes. Whatever you can carry. We're leaving. Amelia's voice was flat, all business. I'm not going anywhere with you. Chloe suddenly flared, the fear replaced by the familiar sting of betrayal. You lied to me. You brought him. You ruined everything. Amelia grabbed her by the shoulders, her grip like steel. You can hate me later. You can hate me for the rest of your life. But right now, you need to listen. Your father didn't just get in trouble. He's the son of a crime boss. He has a sister you've never met who is worse. The man who shot at your wedding, the broker, wants him dead. And your father's new protector, Elena, is using you as a hostage to control your mother. You are in the middle of a war, and this house is ground zero. Now, get your bag. The raw, terrified truth of it silenced Chloe completely. Liam, his face pale, was already grabbing their suitcases. Who's that? Liam asked, pointing at Amelia's waist. Amelia looked down. My backup. Now move. The broker was surveying the damage. The restaurant explosion had not just killed 3 of his men. It had destroyed his New York operations nerve center. The message was clear. I can touch you anywhere. She's taking it all, he seethed, his hands clenching. While I'm fighting the feds, she's... His second-in-command, a man named Russo, spoke carefully. Boss, the bounty on the wife is dead. Nobody will go near her. Elena's got her locked down. Then find me someone else, the broker roared. Find me the cop, the sister, Amelia Davies. Russo shook his head. We've been looking. She's feds, we can't... She's suspended. The broker slammed his fist on the table. I just got word from our man inside the 16th. She was put on leave. No badge, no gun, she's a civilian, she's vulnerable. Find her. She's the only other person Mark Davies might trust. Find her, and you'll find him. Or, we'll use her to draw him out. He smiled, a cold, predatory grin. Put the word out, forget the wife, $5 million for the cop. We'd been in the penthouse for 36 hours. It felt like a lifetime. Mark was sitting up drinking broth, his color returning. He was healing, but the guilt was a visible poison. I should call her, he mumbled. Amelia, I should warn her. Warn her about what? I said, my voice empty. About the family business? I think she's figured it out. Just then, Cale entered holding the satellite phone. It was buzzing. It's an unknown number, she said, her eyes narrowed. But it's routed through a secure scrambler. Could be her. She handed it to me. I answered. Sarah? The voice was a panicked whisper. It was Amelia. I heard the rumble of a truck engine and the sound of wind. Amelia? Where are you? I have her, she said, her voice tight. I have Chloe and Liam. We're clear of the lake house. We're on the move. I gasped, my hand flying to my chest. You what? Is she okay? Let me talk to her. There's no time, Amelia said, her voice strained. Listen to me. Lena's people are sloppy. They had a team watching the house, but they were half a mile back. We got out before they could mobilize. But they're on us, I'm sure of it. And, Sarah, the broker's people, I think they're looking for me too. I'm caught between them. Amelia, where are you going? Mark yelled from the bed, his voice frantic. Somewhere you can't find us, she snapped. Somewhere she can't find us. Suddenly, I heard a sound that made my freeze. A distinct thump like a heavy object hitting the truck bed. Amelia, I screamed. They're here, she shouted. A black sedan. It rammed us. Hold on. I heard the squeal of tires, Chloe's terrified scream, and then the line went dead. The line didn't just go dead. It was a static-filled, violent severance. I stood frozen, the satellite phone clutched in my hand so tightly my knuckles were white. The echo of Chloe's scream seemed to hang in the sterile air of the penthouse. No, I whispered. No, no, no. Sarah, Mark yelled from the bed, his voice cracking with panic. He was trying to rip the IV from his arm. What was that? What happened? They were hit, I stammered, turning to Kyle, who was already watching me, her face an unreadable mask. They were hit by a car. Your people. You have to. My people were watching, Kyle said, her voice a blade of ice. Your sister-in-law ran from them. She took the asset out of our protective custody. She's not an asset, I shrieked, launching myself at her, my hands balled into fists. She's my daughter, and you just let them get attacked. I didn't even get close. Kyle moved with a speed that was almost inhuman, grabbing my wrists in a grip that was agonizingly tight, but not quite breaking. She held me, immobile as I struggled. Control yourself, Mrs. Davies, she said, her voice low and dangerous. Hysteria won't help her. My team is already tracing the call and moving to the intercept. Now sit down and stay quiet. She released me and I stumbled back, my rage collapsing into a cold, hollow terror. Amelia's old truck was built like a tank, but the black sedan had hit them hard, spinning them 180 degrees on the wet, rural road. The engine was smoking, the rear axle clearly broken. Out! Out of the car now! Amelia screamed, drawing her weapon. Liam, his face a mask of terror, fumbled with the door handle. Chloe was frozen, staring at the black sedan as it stopped, two men getting out. They weren't in suits. They were in tactical gear, holding automatic weapons. This wasn't a kidnapping. It was an execution. Go! Into the woods! Amelia yelled, shoving Chloe out the door. A shot rang out and the truck's window exploded into a spiderweb of glass. Run, Liam! Get her out of here! Amelia dropped to one knee, using the truck's engine block for cover, and returned fire. Her handgun was a pathetic pop against their automatic fire, but it made them take cover. I'm not leaving you! Chloe screamed, pulling on her arm. Yes, you are! Amelia roared, shoving her hard. I'm a cop! This is my job! You're a target! Now run! Liam, finally finding his nerve, grabbed Chloe's hand. She's right, Chloe. We have to go. He dragged her past the ditch and into the dense, dark tree line, just as the two gunmen advanced on the truck. In the penthouse, Kale was listening to her earpiece, her eyes fixed on a tablet. Asset is on foot, moving east into the woods. Escort is holding. Escort? You mean Amelia? I said, my voice hoarse. She's holding them off? The third party is the broker's team, Kale said, ignoring my question. They're moving to surround her. And your team? Mark yelled from the bed. Where is your team? Engaging, Kale said simply. On the tablet, I could see a schematic. A blue dot, Amelia, was stationary. Two red dots, broker, were closing in. And now, two green dots, Elena's, were speeding down the same road, intercepting. You're not saving her, I whispered, the horrifying realization dawning. You're not saving Amelia. Amelia Davies is not the asset, Kale said, her eyes never leaving the screen. Our primary objective is to secure your daughter and her fiancé. The escort is an acceptable loss. You monster, I breathed. You're going to let them kill her. I'm going to complete my mission, Kale replied. You should hope the broker's men are as focused on her as we are on your daughter. It's the only thing keeping Chloe alive. Amelia was hit. She felt the hot, searing pain in her shoulder before she even heard the sound of the bullet. She grunted, stumbling back, pressing her hand to the wound. It was a through and through, messy, but not fatal. Not yet. She was outmanned, outgunned, and bleeding. The two gunmen were advancing slowly, using the trees for cover, flanking her. They knew they had her. "Come on out, cop," one of them yelled. "We'll make it quick. We just want to know where the girl went." Amelia gritted her teeth, leaning against a large oak. She had 3 bullets left. She wasn't going to die here. Not like this. She heard them, one on her left, one on her right. They were good. The one on her left got careless, his foot snapping a twig. Amelia spun, firing twice. She heard a grunt and the sound of a heavy body falling. One down. The other man stopped. He was smarter. He didn't move. He just waited. It was a standoff. A bleeding cop versus a patient killer. But the silence was broken by a new sound. The high-pitched whine of a high-performance engine. A different car. A sleek gray sedan skidded to a stop on the road. 2 men in identical black suits got out. They were Cale's team. They looked at the scene. The wrecked truck, the dead gunman, and then at the woods where Amelia and the second gunman were hidden. The second gunman, realizing he was now the target, opened fire on the new arrivals. The firefight exploded. Chloe and Liam ran until their lungs burned. They scrambled down a steep, muddy ravine, falling and sliding, until they collapsed at the bottom, hidden by a tangle of fallen logs. The sound of gunfire was distant, but clear. "Oh, God! Oh, God!" Liam panted, pulling Chloe close. They're shooting!" Chloe was shaking, not from fear, but from a cold, sharp, clarifying rage. She finally understood. The man in the suit at the elevator, the men who just rammed them, the men in the woods. This was the gray. This was the world her father had chosen. She saved us," Chloe whispered, her voice raw. "Aunt Amelia, she's a hero." "She's a target," Liam said, his voice trembling. "And so are we." He was right. Suddenly, a branch snapped above them. They both froze. A figure in a black suit stood at the top of the ravine, looking down. It wasn't one of the broker's men. His suit was too clean. His movements too precise. He was one of Elena's. "Chloe Davies," he said, his voice calm as if he'd just found a lost pet. "Your mother is very worried about you. Please come with me. You're safe now." Chloe looked at the man, at his cold eyes, at the holstered weapon under his jacket. She thought of her aunt, bleeding in the woods. "Safe?" she said, her voice dripping with a venom she didn't know she possessed. "I don't think I'll ever be safe again." The operative in the ravine didn't move, his calm a terrifying contrast to the chaos in the woods. "My orders are to secure you, Ms. Davies. By force, if necessary. But I recommend you come quietly. Your aunt is being handled." "Handled?" Chloe's voice was a low growl. "You mean you're leaving her to die?" "My partner is handling the situation," the operative said. "We don't leave loose ends." A second figure, this one from the broker's team, stumbled out of the woods above, his arm bleeding. He saw the operative and raised his weapon. The operative didn't even look. He fired 2 shots from his hip, a suppressed, precise thwip-thwip, and the man collapsed. Liam audibly gagged. The operative holstered his weapon and extended a hand, not to Chloe, but to Liam. "Get her up. We're leaving. Now." Chloe looked at the operative, then back at the woods where the gunfire had fallen silent. She knew. She knew if she went, she was walking into a cage, but if she stayed, she was dead. "Fine," she whispered, a tear of pure, undiluted hatred rolling down her cheek. You win." "This isn't a game, Ms. Davies," the operative said, pulling her and Liam up the ravine. "It's an inheritance." Amelia was fading. She had her back to the tree, her gun empty, her shoulder a mess of blood and torn fabric. The standoff was over. The gunfire had stopped. She heard a single, deliberate footstep. Not the man she'd been fighting. Someone new. She looked up. A second operative in a black suit stood over her. This was one of Elena's. "Amelia Davies," he said, his voice as flat as his partner's in the ravine. "You've been a problem." "Go to hell," she coughed, the world spinning. The man knelt, surprisingly gentle. He produced a zip tie and a field dressing. "Not today." He began to expertly apply the dressing to her wound, a gesture that was shockingly professional. "What? "What are you doing?" she slurred. "Our orders were to retrieve the primary asset and clean the scene," he said, pulling the zip tie tight around her good wrist, binding her. "But our orders have just been updated. The boss, she doesn't like loose ends, but she is impressed with your file and your performance." He pulled her to her feet, his arm supporting her. "The broker put a $5 million bounty on you, detective. You're no longer safe as a cop, but you just might have a future as something else." Amelia, in a haze of pain, realized the truth. She wasn't being saved. She was being forcibly recruited. In transit. Cale's voice was the only sound in the penthouse. "What does that mean, in transit?" I demanded, pacing the floor. "Where is she? Let me talk to her." "Your daughter is being moved to a secondary, more secure location," Cale stated, her eyes not leaving a new tablet. "As is your sister-in-law, Amelia Davies." Mark, who had been listening with a sickening dread, went pale. "Amelia, she's alive?" "She's been contained," Kyle said. Her unpredictable nature proved to be a liability, but also a useful test. "Elena is pleased. She now has all the pieces." I stopped pacing. The words hit me. "All the pieces? You mean you have my daughter, you have my sister-in-law, and you have us? We're not protected, are we?" I walked right up to her, close enough to see my own terrified reflection in her cold eyes. "We're hostages. All of us." Cale didn't flinch. "Your husband made a deal for your lives. Elena is honoring it. She is cleaning the slate. This is what that looks like." Mark put his head in his hands. "What have I done?" he whispered. "Oh God, Sarah, what have I done?" The man I had loved was gone. The man who'd returned was a ghost. And the man he'd become, he was a monster's brother. Chloe and Liam weren't in a penthouse. They were in a place with no windows. It was furnished like a 5-star hotel suite, with plush carpets, a full kitchen, and soft lighting. But the walls were reinforced concrete, and the single door had no handle on the inside. "Welcome," a voice said. A massive television screen on the wall flickered to life. A woman, the same one I had seen in the elevator, looked out at them. She was beautiful, severe, and in absolute control. "Chloe, I am Elena, your aunt," she said. Her voice was smooth with the faintest trace of an accent. "I apologize for this dungeon. But it is, I assure you, the safest place in the world for you right now." "Let us go," Liam shouted, his voice cracking. Elena's eyes flicked to him and he physically recoiled. She dismissed him with a glance. "Your father," she continued, "stole from a very dangerous man. But more importantly, he stole from me. He stole the keys to our father's legacy. He has now returned them. I am cleaning up his mess. And you, my dear, are my insurance policy. And my leverage." You're using me," Chloe said, her voice shaking, but not with fear, with rage. "Yes," Elena said simply. "As are you, me. We are family. And this is the family business. Your mother will be joining you soon. Get comfortable." The screen went black. The broker was in a blind rage. He had lost 6 of his best men. He had lost the cop. He had lost the girl. And he had lost Mark Davies. His empire was crumbling, all because of one terrified accountant and a ghost named Elena. His last remaining lieutenant, Russo, stood nervously by the door. "Boss, we've lost them all. The feds are The broker's private line rang, a sound that made them both jump. He snatched it. "What?" The voice on the other end was not Elena. It was quiet, it was raspy, and it was chillingly familiar. "Russo," the voice said. "It's Mark Davies." Russo's eyes went wide, the broker's face went white. "You've been loud, Russo," Mark's voice said. "You've drawn too much attention. My sister, she wants to burn it all down, but I prefer a cleaner transition." In the penthouse, I watched as Mark stood up from the bed. He was dressed. He was wearing a new suit. Kyle was beside him, holding the satellite phone, a small, approving smile on her face. "He's not there, Mark," I whispered, horrified. "I'm not talking to him," Mark said, his eyes on me. They were cold, They were the eyes of a stranger. "I'm talking to the man who wants to live." On the phone, he continued, "The broker is a loose end. Elena, she's family. But you're a businessman. The $20 million bounty is off, but the $200 million in my head, that's now on the table. You work for me now, or you work for no one. Your choice." There was a long silence. Then a gunshot on the other end of the line. Mark closed his eyes. "A wise decision, Russo. I'll be in touch." He hung up. My husband, the man who left without a note, had finally come home. Not as a victim, but as a king.